Dale Earnhardt hid a secret message on his dashboard that nobody knew about until It was a discovery that would reshape everything fans thought they knew about the man they called the Intimidator. February 18, 2001. The Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt was flying around the track in his black number 3 car, the familiar Goodwrench colors gleaming under the Florida sun. Fans were on their feet, their voices rising above the thunderous roar of 43 engines pushing the limits of speed and endurance. The race was almost over. Just one more lap. Then it happened. The crash that stopped the world. But what they found in Dale's car after that crash would shock everyone. A secret that stayed hidden for 24 years. A message that changed everything we thought we knew about the man they called the Intimidator. When rescue workers reached Dale's car, cutting through twisted metal and shattered glass, they found something nobody expected. Taped carefully to his dashboard was a small piece of paper, weathered from years of use but still clearly readable. On it were words that would haunt the racing world forever. Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For 24 years, this secret stayed buried. Only his closest friends knew, until 2025 when Stevie Waltrip finally spoke up. Stevie is the wife of NASCAR legend Darrell Waltrip, a 3-time Winston Cup champion who had battled wheel-to-wheel with Dale countless times. She had kept this story locked away, but after 2 decades of silence, she decided the world needed to know the truth about Dale Earnhardt. Everyone knew Dale as the tough guy, the racer who never backed down. The man who would bump you out of the way to win, earning him the nickname the Intimidator, through sheer force of will and aggressive driving. His black mustache and steely gaze became iconic symbols of fearlessness in NASCAR. But Stevie revealed a different side. He wasn't just aggressive, she said during a rare interview in 2025. He was thoughtful. He would sit quietly in the garage, just thinking. He had depth that people never saw on television or in the newspapers. Dale kept that Bible verse on his dashboard for years. Not just on race day, every day. It was his daily reminder, visible every time he climbed behind the wheel of his race car. His source of strength. His anchor in a dangerous sport where death lurked around every corner at 200 miles per hour. The verse wasn't just decoration. It was Dale's spiritual armor, protecting him in a way that no helmet or safety harness ever could. Think about it. Here was a man known for being fearless, the Intimidator. The guy who never showed weakness to competitors or fans. But he carried a prayer with him every single race. This wasn't about being scared. It was about being prepared. Dale knew the risks better than anyone. He had seen friends and fellow drivers injured or killed over his decades-long career. He faced them head-on, but he didn't face them alone. The verse gave him courage. It gave him peace. And according to Stevie, it gave him something else too. A sense of purpose that transcended racing victories and championship trophies. February 18, 2001 started like any other race day at Daytona International Speedway. The sun was shining, the grandstands were packed with excited fans, and the air was electric with anticipation. But Stevie remembers something different about Dale that morning. He was calm, she said. More calm than usual. He laughed more. He hugged more people. He spent extra time talking to young fans who wanted autographs. It was like he knew something we didn't. Dale went through his usual pre-race routine with methodical precision. He checked his car with his crew chief, going over every detail from tire pressure to fuel strategy. He talked to his pit crew, giving them encouragement and final instructions. He read his verse, just like always, but something was different. Something Stevie couldn't put her finger on at the time. There was a serenity about him that seemed unusual. Even for a man who had won 76 NASCAR Cup Series races and 7 championships. The Daytona 500 was exciting that year. Cars were flying around the track in tight formation, drafting and slingshot passing in the unique style that made Daytona racing so spectacular and dangerous. Dale was in the middle of the pack early on, but he was moving up steadily, using his decades of experience to position himself for a late race charge. The crowd was electric with each passing lap. With just a few laps to go, Dale was in third place. His son Dale Jr. was leading the race, with Michael Waltrip, Darrell's younger brother, running second. It looked like it might be a perfect ending to a perfect day for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. Then came the final lap. Dale's car got loose coming out of turn 4. It hit the wall head-on with devastating force. The impact was so severe that the car barely resembled the sleek racing machine it had been moments before. In an instant everything changed. The man who had survived countless crashes throughout his career, who had walked away from wrecks that would have hospitalized lesser drivers, couldn't survive this one. The Intimidator was gone at age 49, leaving behind a wife, 4 children, and millions of fans who couldn't believe their hero was mortal after all. As workers cleared the wreckage hours later, they found Dale's car completely destroyed. The roof was caved in, the front end was crumpled beyond recognition, and safety equipment was scattered throughout the cockpit. But one thing remained miraculously untouched. That small piece of paper on his dash. The Bible verse was still there, still taped exactly where Dale had put it years earlier. Still readable, still carrying his message of faith. The paper hadn't even been torn or significantly damaged in the crash that claimed his life. For years only a few people knew about it. Dale's family members kept it private out of respect for his memory. His closest friends, people like Stevie and Darrell Waltrip, were sworn to secrecy. They kept it private not only out of respect, but also because it was too personal, too painful, too sacred to share with a world that knew Dale primarily as a fierce competitor rather than a man of faith. NASCAR itself was different then. Faith was more private, less openly discussed in the sports culture. In 2025, Stevie decided it was time. She had carried this secret for 24 years, and the weight of it had grown heavier with each passing year. People needed to know, she said. Dale wasn't just a racer, he was a man of faith. He believed in something bigger than himself and bigger than NASCAR. She also wanted people to understand that Dale's fearlessness came from faith, not from ignorance or recklessness. He knew the dangers intimately. He just chose to face them anyway, armed with spiritual strength. When Stevie shared the story publicly for the first time, the NASCAR world exploded with reaction. Fans who had followed Dale for decades suddenly saw him in a completely new light. Social media platforms lit up with stories of how the revelation had touched people's lives. People shared how Psalm 23:4 had helped them through tough times, job losses, family deaths, serious illnesses. Some got tattoos of the verse combined with Dale's iconic number 3. Others added it to existing Dale Earnhardt memorials and shrines. The verse became more than just words on a dashboard. It became part of Dale's enduring legacy. Psalm 23:4 isn't just about death. It's about courage in the face of the unknown. It's about walking through scary situations with faith as your guide. It's about not letting fear control your decisions or limit your potential. For Dale, every race was a walk through the valley. Every lap was dangerous. Every turn could be his last, but he didn't let that fear stop him from doing what he loved. The verse reminded him that he wasn't alone on that track, that there was something bigger watching over him, that gave him the courage to push forward when others would back down or play it safe. Dale's death changed NASCAR forever in ways that extended far beyond the sport itself. The sanctioning body became obsessed with safety improvements. New rules were put in place requiring advanced safety equipment. The Hans device became mandatory. Safer barriers were installed at tracks across the country. Medical teams were improved and response times were short. His death literally saved lives. Other drivers survived crashes that would have killed them before the safety improvements made in Dale's honor. The changes kept families together and allowed the sport to continue growing. But now, knowing about the verse, his legacy means even more. It's not just about making the sport safer through better technology and medical care. It's about showing that true strength comes from faith, not just from physical courage or competitive drive. Dale's spiritual preparation was as important as his physical preparation, and that message resonated with people far beyond the racing community. Darrell Waltrip and Dale were close friends despite being fierce competitors. They raced together for years, battling wheel to wheel for victories and championships. They had their conflicts on the track. Both were aggressive drivers who hated to lose, but they respected each other off it. When Dale died, Darrell was devastated. He cried openly during television interviews. He struggled to keep racing, questioning whether he wanted to continue in a sport that had claimed his friend. The loss hit him harder than any defeat in competition ever had. But knowing about the verse helped Darrell cope with the grief. It reminded him that Dale had been prepared spiritually for whatever might happen, that he had faced the danger with faith as his companion. That gave Darrell some peace during the darkest period of his life. Stevie said their family started reading Psalm 23:4 more often after Dale's death. It became a source of comfort during difficult times, a way to feel connected to their lost friend and to find strength in their own challenges. Today's NASCAR drivers grew up hearing stories about Dale Earnhardt. Many of them looked up to him as the ultimate competitor, the standard by which all others should be measured. They wanted to be like the Intimidator, tough, fearless and successful. But now they know the full story. They know that Dale's strength came from faith, not just from natural toughness or competitive instinct. That revelation has changed how some of them approach racing and life in general. Some young drivers now carry Bible verses in their cars, inspired by Dale's example. Others pray before races, asking for protection and strength. They've learned that being fearless doesn't mean being faithless. In fact, true fearlessness might require faith, the confidence that comes from trusting in something greater than yourself, something that transcends the temporary world of racing victories and defeats. Dale Earnhardt wasn't fearless because he didn't feel he was fearless because he faced his fear with faith. Every time he climbed into that car, he knew the risks. He knew that racing at 200 miles per hour could kill him. The statistics were undeniable. Drivers had died before, and drivers would die, but he also knew that he couldn't let fear control his life or limit his potential. The verse on his dashboard reminded him that even in the most dangerous situations, he didn't have to be afraid. He could trust in something bigger than himself, something that would be with him regardless of the outcome. Keeping this secret for 24 years taught Stevie something important about the power of timing and the weight of hidden truths. Some stories are too powerful to keep hidden forever. She realized that sharing Dale's faith didn't take away from his toughness or diminish his legend. It actually made him seem stronger, more complete, more human, more real. He would have wanted people to know, she said. Dale was never ashamed of his faith. He just wasn't loud about it. He lived it quietly, privately, but he lived it genuinely. In 2025, the world feels more dangerous than ever. People are scared of economic uncertainty, political division and social upheaval. They're looking for hope in dark times. They're searching for courage to face their own valleys of shadow. Dale Earnhardt's story gives them that hope and courage. It shows that even the strongest people need faith. That courage comes from trusting in something bigger than yourself. The verse that Dale carried is still relevant today, perhaps more relevant than ever. People still walk through valleys. They still face scary situations. They still need reminders that they're not alone. Even now, questions remain about that final race day. Did Dale have a premonition that something was going to happen? Did he know that February 18, 2001 would be his last race? Stevie doesn't claim to know the answers to these mysteries. She just knows that he seemed different that morning. More at peace. More ready for whatever might come. Maybe the verse prepared him for whatever was coming. Maybe it gave him the strength to face his final race with courage and acceptance. For Stevie, sharing this story wasn't easy. It brought back painful memories of that terrible day and forced her to relive the grief all over again. But it also brought unexpected healing. She felt closer to Dale than she had in years. She felt like she had honored his memory by sharing his faith with the world. I hear his voice in the wind sometimes at the track, she said. And when I do, I say the verse. It brings peace to my heart. This story reveals the real Dale Earnhardt. Not just the tough guy who never backed down from a fight. Not just the driver who would do anything to win, but a complete human being. The real Dale was a man of faith who understood that true strength comes from trusting in something bigger than yourself. A man who faced danger with courage because he knew he wasn't alone on that track or in life. That's the Dale Earnhardt legacy that will live forever. Not just the wins and championships,
but the faith that carried him through every race and every challenge. Dale Earnhardt's final lap wasn't just around the Daytona track, it was his final walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and he walked it without fear, just as the verse prompted. The verse on his dashboard was his final message to the world, a reminder that faith conquers fear, that courage comes from trust, and that even in the darkest moments, we're not alone. Today, when fans see the number 3 on a t-shirt or bumper sticker, they remember more than just a great driver. They remember a man who showed them that true strength comes from faith, and that's a legacy that will never die. Share this story with someone who needs courage today. Dale's message still saves lives.